It doesn't make sense that for us to send a container from Nigeria to Ghana, for instance, will take you about 45 to 50 to 60 days. How do you deepen the regional trade? Other economic blocks in Africa have gone very far. West Africa seems to be one of the regions that has the highest transport and logistic cost. But what do you look at them? They are not challenges, they are opportunities. That was how NEXIM Bank said, look, why don't we find a way of facilitating the setting of a shipping company that will be private sector driven, because it's the private sector that is trading. And when we asked our consultants to go around, they now met with the officials of the Federation of West African Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And the people shouted that this was a fantastic initiative. They were going to work with NEXIM. We asked our consultant to go to Cameroon. Cameroon is not a member of ECOWAS, because our initial concept was that it would be limited within ECOWAS. And when they went there, they now met with one of the biggest logistic companies in Central Africa called Transimex. They were at the point of procuring some vessels for their logistics operations. And they were happy with this initiative. That was how you now have NEXIM, you have Transimex, you have FEWASI coming together to set up a special purpose vehicle that will drive the realization of this initiative.
The reason why the Sealink is very simple. You see on the roads many trucks. You see the delays that these trucks have. You see the harassment people go through from one border to another border. Sometimes the trucks can spend 3 to 5 days, 7 days in one border. And if you add a corridor, Lagos, Abidjan, and see exactly how many will that be. Now, we say that we want regional integration, and we need the infrastructure to do so. We are talking about the rail. It takes so long for a rail to be realized. We're talking about building a roads. It takes also a lot of money to do so. So the private sector says that in order for us to move our goods, let's find an alternative to the road and also to the rail that is there to be waited for another 10 years maybe. And we came to say that why not try the transportation by sea? One truck can take 1 container or 2 containers. A ship can take up to 500 containers. And it only takes from Dakar to maybe to Libreville about 5 days. Now try to do that. If the last time the export trade of Nigeria wanted to move a container from Lagos to Douala, they asked them 3,800 euro, and they told them that it would take 6 months before they arrive, which journey you can do in 1 day. These are the reasons why we are looking at the Sealink. We have different dimensions. When we started the Sealink, we look at the market of the Sealink, and we say that who move the goods in West Africa? They are all women predominantly. 70% of the market is women. How do they move? The women move with the goods from one place to another place. So we say that we can just use the cargo ship because we have a culture of moving with our goods. So the selection of the ship was very vital and critical. So we have a combination of goods and passenger that is a combo ship for these women to be able to move their goods from one area to another. And even if we look at also the problem of food security in West Africa and in Africa in general, some of the places have surplus, some have deficit. And where you have surplus, the food is getting rotten. And what do? Is on the floor. Now what we to do between the deficit countries and the surplus country, if there is this movement, then the problem is solved.
Specifically, it is for more private sector initiative and innovation, enhance the development of the key sectors, value chain, create and sustain more jobs as the ECOWAS market become one.
The initial funding requirement is about 60 million US dollars. And that 36 will come by way of equity, which is what we intend to raise from this offer. And then 24 will come by way of debt capital. It is interesting to know that banks are already indicated intention to provide this 24 million US dollars already.
The project has been endorsed by the federal government of Nigeria through NEXIM Bank. It has also been adopted and is being sponsored by the Federation of West African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with other endorsements and collaborations by the ECOWAS Commission, the ECOWAS Parliament, various multi and bilateral institutions, including the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, strong private sector support through various trade associations, and heightened expression of interest by potential investors both locally and internationally.
Right now in West Africa, we have the highest GDP. Our growth is almost 6.65. No other region, no other economic region in Africa, has that level of growth. And that's to say that we just need to address some of these non-tariff barriers so that we can quickly deepen the intra-regional trade. And the best way to do this is, how do we move our goods in bulk? And because we know that our people trade with their goods, we are not just getting vessels that we carry on the cargo. We have designed the routes.
What makes our trades and industries more competitive? You go along the West African coast, what do you see in terms of cement? You see Dangote cements everywhere you go. You go to Gabon, you see it, the yam coming from Ibadan. These are the inter-trade. How much does it cost to do that? The whole of Central Africa, the whole of West Africa, take the spare parts from Ladipo market, because that's where they go and get the spare parts. They use engines are transshipped from this area to all West and Central Africa. The Nigerian traders in Sao Tome, the Nigerian traders in Equatorial Guinea, the Nigerian traders in Libreville, they import this. But the problem is that what? You cannot get ship. The used car factory or land park in Lomé export all over West Africa, export to Central Africa. But they used to do it to Cotonou. But because the condition of the ships that were in Cotonou were not modern ships and they were not seaworthy, there was a regulation to bind them. So now that trade also has been cut. There is that opportunity, a huge opportunity for investors. And when that's one of the reasons we want it to be a transnational company, so we can get resources together and we share risk together. Since it asks a lot of capital, it's very capital intensive, and you need a lot of working capital. And by getting together as from business people from different countries in West and Central Africa can leverage themselves and can reduce that risk at the minimum.
The ECOWAS market is huge, estimated at close to 300 million people, and this market has not been fully tapped, and it could be maximally tapped if the sub-region embraces the benefits inherent in the Sealink project.